That's the spine tacked in. Just doing some odd jobs, thinking ahead. So I ordered these adjustable sort of screw-in style stops. So that'll be for the bumper, sorry, the bonnet mounts to support these corners. So I've welded in, if you can see, just some short sections across here. And then when the body's off, I'll weld a plate in so it's got a nice little platform to close down onto. And obviously I'll have to incorporate that into this closure panel. And also I'm thinking for mounts for these sun visors. So the Model 3 ones, they've got this sort of nice little kick up. So I'm hoping I can make use of them and they can sort of kick up around the front bit of headlining somehow. Not sure exactly how yet. They're certainly too long because they come pretty much to the middle of the car. So I'll have to shorten them by the width of the rearview mirror. But I'm not actually sure what they're made of. I think it might be moulded plastic or something. So I may well be able to do a staggered cut and then plastic weld and sort of staple them together. Obviously they're going to be recovered, but it'd be quite nice to have they've even taken off the protective plastic from when they were new. They're a bit filthy, but obviously that'll be nice. So I'll have to make a little plate like that and weld it onto the main hoop up there, and then see that's just a little rectangular plate. In fact, that's magnetic, so that's going to be easy. Hoping, just getting the width right. I think that'll sit up there nicely. Just hope it doesn't look like it sticks out too far. I think I'll wait till the seats are in next and figure out what that position's going to be like, because that'll dictate the shape to a degree of that interior moulding. Yeah. Another thing to tweak while I noticed it. So that's a nice smooth sort of continuation between the panels around here, but here there was a bit of a kick up. So at the moment I've just jacked it up along this back edge. It's lifted it a bit too high, but I think I might have to put a couple of relief cuts in this just to lift it up level, or at least to the right angle of the boot lid, and then probably weld a couple of little supports from the bar that's going across at the back. But I don't want to modify the position of the window seal lip, because that's perfect for the glass. So I know that's in the right place. So yeah, a bit of fettling there. A bit more slicing and fettling. As I said, the angle of this horizontally wasn't quite flowing with the engine lid, so I've put a couple of slices. You can see and then jacks underneath on this trailing edge. So it's opened up a little bit, a millimetre or so on the two positions. So I'm just going to thin that down and put some fiberglass underneath, and hopefully that should, well, it'll at least stay pretty well. And then I'll weld some little metal supports from the crossbar just to keep it at the right angle. And incidentally, bought myself a dehumidifier. So it's getting, and in there, it's getting very humid in here. It was up at nearly 90%, which is not good for metal or exposed electronics or anything like that. So it's doing a good job in the background. But yeah, let's get this glassed up. Okay, that's the joint sanded down. It did relax back down about a degree, but I've put a clamp back only in the middle position, and that's got the angle back, so it's a nice, within body working. It's a nice flow all the way around now. So Yeah, I think I'll just put a support in the middle, and then I do actually need to form another bit of square tube probably. I'll put that in between the hinge mounting points, and yeah, force some curve into that panel. It's not a lot, but it'll do the job. I did have this clamped onto the inner with a couple of blocks, and then a sort of a clamp in the middle to get the curve, and everything opens and clears really nicely. So a bit more clearance in this edge, and it's kind of falling into place nicely. That's that bent up, so that it's catching against this lip. I think it's just a little bit oversized still, but that seems to be doing a decent job. Yeah, so I'll make some nut plates for the hinge. There's another bolt that needs to go around there, and then think about well, I'll cleco it in from underneath to begin with, but I think it's very, very close to filling the void up to the top skin. So I think I'm just going to mark it up, and just with the belt sander just sand it down a little bit, just to make sure that it doesn't force the outer skin high. I mean, it's probably okay, but I'd rather be safe. I can use that as a bonding point as well for the outer skin, which would be quite handy. I've got to show, there's that little support tacked in underneath. It does need a little bit of pressure at the front here, so I might fiberglass in a vertical flange and drill and tap into that bar. Could do with some mounting points anyway, so that can be one of them. That's that bar tacked in with some spreader plates and welded on tacked for the moment on each end. And that it's amazing how much stiffer that's made it all. Even at the back, the whole thing just feels really solid now. Yeah, like I said, I've sanded down with a belt finger file just underneath where that sits, so the skin can lay flush. I was expecting to have to put some rivets in from underneath to hold it in place, but I think it's because it's been welded in situ. That's really nice and tight. The only thing I did think is I'm going to have to figure out where the wiring is going to come into the boot. So I've got all this lot. I think it's this one that goes into the boot. So maybe I'll feed it in here and then figure out how high it's going to go. Might be nicer to have it coming in more here, but then I'll have to do a bit of fettling. Mind you, it's deep around here, so I might get away with it. But just need to make sure I keep space to go down there and within that channel down to the catch and the camera. Okay, so I've been playing around with the boot strut. You can just about see it connected there. Still investigating, but I figured I'd switch the car on again for a change. Obviously I've disconnected the charger to those individual cells, and there is still a mismatch, but the error's gone. So I've got 147 miles at 75%, which is not optimal, but the error's gone and it seems happy enough to charge. I did have to reset the high voltage BMS in service mode, but it seems happier. The only weird thing is that it's about 9 or 10 degrees. I've looked in the Scan My Tesla app, and the battery's temperatures are similar. In any other Tesla I've had, I don't normally get that cold battery warning at at that sort of temperature. So we'll see. I think we've got a loose connection again. I just wanted to bring it alive really to get a software update as well, but for some reason that's failed. So I shall, where is it? Yeah, I'll do it separately. But in other news, actually sitting in the seat, looking out, the rear view mirror, actually, this is sort of my eye line, doesn't interfere, really. I can see around it quite nicely. Really good view, rear view. I can barely see the edges of the rear window. Oh, and also just checking the rear view camera. I've checked the front and all of the fronts are working. You've got a standard, a narrow and a wide view. They're the three cameras in the triple cam. That's looking a bit wider than expected, but to be honest, even in Model 3s I've had, sometimes you see the number plate in the rear view and things, so I guess the software is clever enough to ignore that. But yeah, just taking the opportunity, obviously I want to bring the voltage down of the bulk of the cells, so while it's on, I'm just going to turn the heater on, let it draw everything down, and then, as another YouTuber, Sid, has mentioned, I'll leave it plugged in, probably around 50% target. But not out of the woods yet, but it certainly is going to be a bit more usable. Okay, I did have it working to a degree, but I've got a funny feeling this actuator was damaged in the original crash, because it was rear-ended and the boot was a bit squished. Yeah, so if I open the latch, that's fine. But obviously that's in the extended position, so if I press the close boot button, it'll start contracting, but it'll only go to that position. Ooh, then it does something else. That's new. If I try again. Yeah, so I'm going through. Ooh. So it's got very confused at some point. The second I close the latch, it sort of bounces out again. I might buy a second-hand one or something and see what happens, but yeah. Oh, the software updated in the end, so it's happy. So I'm to 2623. That's aligned to my other cars. Yeah, I've had the heat going. I just want to pull the voltage of the battery down a bit. So I've had it down to 69. As obviously a nice byproduct of heat in the garage. There's the little interior temperature sensor, which has got a little fan to keep a decent flow over it. It normally lives underneath the screen behind a little mesh, so I guess it could get a localized temperature. What want to do? Just playing really. The triple cam at the front, it seems good. Went into service mode to check those. Obviously probably some fine tuning once everything's together and I've got the final print and all the rest. But we'll actually do have to wire up that interior light bit as well for the mic. Yeah. Don't know if that comes across the wiggle on the image, but yeah, I think that's definitely gone.